Hello, hello, and good afternoon. Welcome to our Thursday episode of The Road to Rise 2018. As you all know, for the next few weeks, as we lead up to the event, every Tuesday and Thursday, I'll be bringing on a speaker who is going to be speaking at Rise 2018 and kind of give you their backstory on who they are, what their journey has been in the fitness industry, and what they'll be speaking about at Rise. And today I have one of those amazing speakers. I got my good friend, Ivan Barrera. Ivan, welcome to the Rise Up Show.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Cal. I appreciate it, brother.
Man, my pleasure, man. So Ivan and I go back a few years, man, different masterminds, different events, different workshops. So I've known Ivan and his journey for quite some time. But Ivan, man, share your journey with us, man. Share your from 19-year-old opening up your own place to where you are now, man. What's been your fitness journey like?
Yeah, man, for sure. So, I think it all started, as far back as I can remember, I got my certification when I was 17, so I couldn't even work until I was 18. So I was just kind of learning and studying as many things as I could. And then I finally got a job. I was a boot camp instructor for like an outdoor boot camp. Did that for 6 months because I went out to lunch with a coworker of mine, and then I told him, like, man, our boss is making some good money, like, don't you think you can do this on your own? And then he ratted me out to the boss, and then I got fired the next day, which led to me opening or, doing my own business. I just kind of wanted to be on my own. So I was just one job and done. I couldn't do it anymore. And then I started renting space from a facility that rented space to trainers. So I was there for about 11 months, and I did basically anything and everything to get as many clients as possible to just build up my business. So those were definitely those hustle and grind times, but I knew that I was meant to do something a little bit greater. I wanted my people to experience a different kind of culture and not a place where like there's 50 different trainers doing 50 different things. So I just kind of wanted it to be my own. So thankfully, built up enough clientele to, save a good amount of money. And then 11 months later, which is about at the tail end of 2012, beginning of 2013, I found a small location, 1,900 square feet. So it's one of those things where you walk in and you like look in the window, you're like, man, I see it. I see everything right here. I know this is the place. And I pulled the trigger. So January 3rd of 2013 was when I opened up my location. And it's been 6 years now, man. So the journey has been awesome ever since then.
That's awesome. Well, so for you, looking in that window and seeing that open space, and then getting that vision, right? Getting that vision of what this thing's going to look like. Like, what motivates you to stick to that vision? Like, because there were some hard times, right? Opening the business and trying to get it going and setbacks, but you kept that vision. Like, for you, what kept you motivated?
For me, it's when I was going through that transition period of like opening up that location, I was still in college too. Like I was trying to figure that whole thing out. And in college, I wasn't the greatest student too. Like, cause I was just really focused on getting the business going. Like I was really one track mind, just all business. And then I kind of had to make that tough decision where I was like, you know what, like I can't do both of these things. I'm not saying that it's impossible. A million people have done it. But for me personally, I just had to make that tough decision. Like, school's getting in the way. So I decided to drop out, and that was like probably one of the hardest things for me and for me to tell like my parents, right? Like, telling them like, hey, like I'm going to quit college, and I could have been first generation to graduate. I'm going to quit college to pursue training. And they're like, whoopee, right? Like, so for me, like, I think what kept the vision alive was that there was no plan B. There was no plan B for me. It's like, I guaranteed and promised the people that I love most in my life, which is my family, like I'm going to make this work because I have to. There is no plan B. I have nothing to go back to. You know what I mean? So from the moment of being at that gym, renting space, to me looking in the window to today, like that's what pushes me, because at this point, like this is my day-to-day life. Like this is what I'm very passionate about. This is what I live for. So I'm definitely making this work.
Nice, man. So your parents, you have their full support now, right? They fully support you.
For sure, yeah.
Awesome. Look, hold on. So I remember seeing this video. So now you did something really special for your parents. What can you share what that was?
Yeah, for sure, man. So that was Christmas of 2014. So at this point, I am, what is that? Or maybe Christmas 2015. So I was about 2 years in, 2.5 years into the business, and I've honestly have had a pretty blessed career so far. It's a very early career, still, but I've found a lot of success in my small fitness studio and success in the fitness industry. So um, I'll try to make this story quick and not emotional at all. But yeah. So when it was time for Christmas, you try to, wait till last minute to get your parents something or whatnot. But I remember going to their house to pick up some mail, and then, I was like looking through papers and all that stuff, and then I see a lot of open ones, and like it's things that you don't want to see and things that I had no idea about. Like you see like a rack of like credit card bills, and there's like collection statements from like the IRS, and I'm like, holy crap, like, how is it that I didn't even know about this? Like, so for me, it's not of like me wanting to do this because like it was a gift. Like it's just like my parents sacrificed so much for me, growing up, and them being immigrants and coming to this country, very hardworking. They sacrificed so much for me growing up that I promised myself that if I ever found success in my life, that I would do something to give back to those people. And I finally had that opportunity where, because I've been so blessed in my career, like I was able to pay all of their credit card bills and their IRS statements like in full. So they didn't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. I've never seen that video, and man, like I teared up. I was like, man, that was awesome. That was a big thing. I think a lot of us, when we get into this thing, like want to pay back our parents for, and not financially, but just want to help them out for helping us out, and for you to be able to do that I think was huge. Because I mean, I have that same goal. My parents are immigrants. I mean, I'm an immigrant. Like we moved here to for that American dream, and so my big thing is I want to make sure I show them that move doesn't go unheard of or unturned, of like, hey, it was worth it. And so I think that was huge, man. And I applaud you for that, because some people don't do that, and you did. And man, to capture it was. I know your mom and dad, man. I remember seeing it, and like you can feel the emotions.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so to this day, man, it's by far my biggest accomplishment, like career-wise and personal life-wise. Like nothing beats that. And for me, it's like every year, it's like, what's funny is that now I can laugh about it. It's like, shit, how am I going to one up this now?
You get a home run right off the bat. So now, like, how do you one up that?
I'm like, oh wow, you got me a sweater, nice, man. Like that's.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to get into the opening of your facility, right? So at 19, you decided, I'm going to be a gym owner. I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to open up my own fitness studio. And in those 6 years, man, what are some of the lessons? Can you share with us some of the lessons you've learned from that day you opened the door until now? Like, what are some of the lessons you learned as a business owner?
Yeah, I think like all these lessons come in stages. So if I can go back to like in the very beginning, say if someone is watching this or at the Rise conference, somebody who's a trainer looking to get into their own studio. Unfortunately, I think the industry kind of messes us up a little bit by creating this picture that, hey, in order to be successful, you need this kind of facility, you need this kind of business. And you look up to these people thinking that like, all right, I need to mock what they're doing, and then, just follow in their footsteps, not knowing that it is going to be an extremely excruciating road, and it's going to be hard. Like none of this is easy. Like if someone tells you like, hey, this business is easy, like they're full of crap, And so for me, one of the early lessons is, man, if you got to be good with your money, especially. So I think like making sure that you have a good relationship with money, because if you're scared to invest, not spend, if you're scared to invest in yourself early on, the future is not going to look so bright in the business. Because I'm 6 years in, you being in the industry for a long time, that every single year, the expenses and the investments grow higher and higher to get to the next level. So if you can get that into your mindset from the very beginning, you're already winning. So I fortunately was blessed enough to kind of get that early lesson of like, hey, you need mentors from the very beginning. So I did have mentors from the time I was 18, 19. So they held my hand every step of the way. So, I mean, lesson number one is not going at this alone. you need to have somebody, you need to have a network and team like around you to, support you through the lows, because there will be a lot of lows. So I think that's lesson number one, is surrounding yourself with good people and mentors, and making sure that you have a good relationship with money, that you're saving in order to invest it for a better business, a better life. So that's probably in the beginning lessons. Towards the middle and today, I think you definitely need to try to innovate and try to continue one-upping yourself, right? So for me, the reason why we're so well known in our city here is because we try to always look back at our previous year, like, all right, what went well, what didn't go well, like how can we improve the following year, like what can we bring in, what can we take out, we're always trying to inspire and empower individuals. So we're always trying to, again, one up ourselves, because we're trying to be better versions of ourselves so we can impact more lives. And so I think that's one of the best lessons that I can give, and that I will give more in detail at the conference, is that you always need to invest in yourself. You always need to, reflect on the good and the bad, and then how you can make that so much better for the years to come.
I love it, man. Two very good lessons. So Faster Fitness, man. Let's talk about the gym. 6 years in, talking a small gym, right? 1,800, 1,900 square feet. I know your talk at Rise is creating massive success in a small fitness studio. So let's dive into that, man. Like, talk to us about why did you choose to stay within a small studio, and how have you maximized the success within that small studio?
So for me, for one, in the very beginning, it's because that's all I could afford, right? Anything more than that, like rent, and even then, like the first couple of months, it was hard to make that rent. But thankfully, my clients supported me, and they made sure to refer as many people to me as they're able to. But year after year, when you see like your yearly statements and all that, and your members and whatnot, and not saying that this is all about revenue, but we do want more revenue, obviously. Seeing it grow year after year after year for the last 6 years, and then saying like, man, like what else can I do here? And this is it. Like, to me, it's always been crazy. Like, man, I only have 1,900 square feet. And again, kind of mentioning what I said earlier, is people envision that they need to have bigger because bigger is better. And I 100% can tell you that bigger is not better, because I have experienced it firsthand with a second location that didn't work out. And we can talk about that at a different time. But it's just—
Well, let's talk about it, man. I think let's talk about it, because I think it's important, like, right? Because you had really amazing success in this small studio, and then you decided to let me go play in a bigger studio, which is kind of what a lot of us fall into. A lot of personal trainers that want to open up their space or their own place fall into is, let me go get a big studio. And so talk to us about that journey of like, hey, you looked at a bigger place, it didn't work. What did you get out of it? What did you learn out of all that?
So I think for my mindset, I think in the beginning was, and this will happen to anyone who has success in this industry or in any industry, is that you will get complacent. You will want to do new things. You got that shiny object syndrome, right? And like, unfortunately, that's what happened to me at my already awesome, like, small studio, right? Like, you're blinded by success in a sense because you want to do more. And unfortunately, that did happen to me. So I was like complacent. I wasn't hustling as much. And it's like that saying that, where do you go once you're at the top of the mountain, right? Like, which is weird to say. I hate saying that. Like, I don't like to brag or anything like that, but it is like, that's kind of what happened. Like, I didn't know, like, all right, like, well, this is it. Like, what else should I do? So naturally, I thought that the next step was for me to just get another one and like, hey, let's duplicate this, right? But I didn't go about it looking back now, I didn't go about it in the healthiest ways. The reason why is because, number one, I didn't stick to what I knew. And I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people. Like, if you want to duplicate yourself, you need to be doing something that you're extremely good at. And for me, like, that's managing and owning this 1,900 square foot facility. But instead, my dumbass decided to get an 8,500 square foot facility. So it's a monster compared to me. And again, you're just blinded by success and not really thinking all the way through and just thinking like, dude, everything I touch is going to turn into gold. Like, I got this, and yeah, no, it's a completely different animal to different systems, different marketing. It's different everything. So just to kind of recap, like my experience, because this literally just happened. Like I just, gave it off to somebody else last month. So 10 months of managing it and trying to grow it. You can't be at two places at once. And it's one of those things that I think your awareness has to kick in. Like you need to be extremely aware of yourself. Like, is this the way you want to grow? Is this what's right for you? Because I'm not knocking multiple locations, and I'll talk more in depth about that. Like I have a colleague in my mastermind, he's got 6 locations and he's already going to franchise. Like he's got the formula, but he's got that mindset. Like he's got that work ethic, and it's something that like you kind of have to dig into your ego and accept, like, that's not for me, so it's a stab at your ego. But I was aware enough to kind of work with myself and talk to myself like, what, this is not the way I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow a different way. So I decided to just let it go and refocus back into my small studio, because as soon as I stepped out, I started seeing little holes in the business that I wasn't seeing when I was there. Mm-hmm. So for that experience, I am grateful. I am grateful for the failure. I am grateful for the lessons, because it took me out of where I was complacent before. But now I was able to see all the holes, like, okay, I got to work on that. I got to fix that. I got to bring this in. I got to take that out to continue growing an already successful small studio.
And you mentioned ego there as part of being able to keep that ego at bay, or at least keep it in check. I think for all of us, all of us get in trouble with our ego every now and then, and it kind of gets the best of us. And for you being able to recognize that and having the self-awareness to recognize that, like what did you do to keep your ego in check, or recheck your ego to say, hey, this is in my wheelhouse. My success is in the small studio. Let me go back to that. Like what led to that decision?
So I think one of the biggest things, and again, remember when I said surrounding yourself with a lot of great people. So thankfully I have a great support system with my family, my relationships, and my business coaches and whatnot. One of the cool things that I heard from my financial advisor, actually, he said that, you know what the hardest thing for a CEO is to do? So I'll ask you that question, Khaled. Do you know what that is? So the hardest thing a CEO can do is to let go. So letting go, because you've seen it firsthand from articles and videos that you've seen personally, that they would rather go under to the point where they're bankrupt instead of letting go early. So it's a very hard skill. So when he told me that, I was like, damn, like I think I'm right there, or can I continue doing it? And it's like 10 months. Like I know it doesn't sound like a long time, but in 10 months, and I'll be real with you and whoever is watching, like, I lost $100,000 in 10 months. And that's hard money. I'm not a fan of borrowing money. I'm not a fan of taking out loans. That is hard money that I lost. And so it's like, you got to check yourself, like, how much more of a beating can I take? Right? Like, how much more can I lose? How much more emotional stress can I have on my body? Like, the relationships that I had and at a level where they weren't there anymore. Like my happiness level wasn't there anymore. Like, so I had to kind of reflect and revisit the things that weren't making me happy. And that second facility was a big part of that, and not the people, not my employees or nothing like that. It was just the stress of having an entire different business, that I just couldn't attend to. So.
No, absolutely. And how important were like the relationships, like with your partner, with family? Like how important were those, having that support going through these last 10 months? Like it sounds like that was a lot of, they helped you get through these, obviously in the masterminds that we both are a part of or have been a part of, having those coaches. Like how important was that?
I'll start with family. So family, I think, is by far, it's one of the best pieces of advice that they can give you, but it also could be the worst because the people are too close to you. You know what I mean? So like, it sucks to say, but it's the truth. Like, and I started noticing too, like this was a bad stress in my life and a bad thing in my life, because I was getting too snappy with my family and the people that I love most. It's like, that's not me. You know what I mean? Like, that's not like me. The way I'm treating you right now is not who I am at all. And it's because of this virus that I have right now in my life. And I hate talking negative about it because, you know, maybe some people who work for me are watching this right now, but it's like, but at the same time, it's like, again, it has nothing to do with those people. It's just the stress that it was. So I think with family, like them supporting you unconditionally, regardless of the kind of state that you're in, I think it's the best blessing that you can ever have. Somebody telling you the unconditional truth at all times. I think that's phenomenal. And then the business coaches, that's a place where you can actually talk hard numbers. You can talk about the emotional stresses that you're going through and the feelings that you're going through without being judged, because you're in a room of like-minded individuals who understand you, and maybe people have gone through that, if not worse. So that's the kind of like feedback you're looking for. I definitely amount those two things, my business relationships and my personal relationships, a big deal for getting me out of that place and being in a better place today, 100%.
So now that you're back in the smaller studio, and for the last, like, what are some of the, like, what's exciting you now that you're back in the small studio? You got the 1,900 square foot Faster Fitness. Like, what's exciting you? What's the excitement for now that you're back in there?
You know what I missed the most was like the relationships that I have with my clients. Like, I think, you know, and not saying that I'm like working 40 to 50 hours, which I know a lot of people are, but I love being at the gym, man. Like, I love being there, like hanging out with my coaches. I love hanging out with my clients and showing face. Like, even though I'm not training all the time now, like at least I'm there hanging out with them and getting to know my clients in a deeper level, to have a different level of transformation, I think is so important. And I wasn't able to have that time because I had to be in two different places at once. You know what I mean? And so I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about, remember those holes that I was telling you that I was wanting to fill? Like, I see where we can bring in a little bit more revenue, and I can see what we can take out in order to make our culture and our experience so much better. So those are the things that I'm looking to fill those holes right now. Like, you know, you understand this, being a, you know, a serial entrepreneur, like you always want to do other things. But the biggest lesson that I have right now is, before you duplicate yourself, before you move on to the next project, you need to 100% maximize what you currently have, be expert at it, and then go to the next project. You know, and I think this industry has a lot of issues with, you know, going in so many different directions. Like, do I do online? Do I do in person? Do I do a second facility? Do I do a freaking app? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different things, and I 100% see the frustration and see what the industry is going through. But if it's any advice that I can give, is you need to stay focused on what you are good at until it is fully maximized. Like, for me, it's like, in 1,900 square feet, until I literally can't fit another body in there, is when I will, you know, do another thing. So that's kind of my thought process on that.
What's the future for you right now? What are you looking down the road? And you mentioned those little holes. Like, what's next for you or for Faster Fitness? Like, what's like, if you how to look at the next 2, 3, 4 years, like where do you envision it going?
Well, I want to continue being a staple in my city and in my community. Like, I want to be somewhere where, like, everyone knows our name. Everyone knows what we're about. Everyone knows that we're all about transformation, and we want to get the city a lot healthier. So I want to get it to a place where we're well known. What I mentioned earlier, filling the hole. So it's like an even better business, and it's something that is extremely systematized. And but moving from there, it's like, instead of duplicating myself to doing different kind of businesses and stuff like that, what I mentioned earlier is when you understand what you're good at. So for me, I'm good at, you know, getting people through, you know, mindset hurdles or mindset obstacles. I'm good at that. I'm good at transformations. So I want to try to broaden that and try to impact as many lives as possible. So, and that potentially might be the online platform for sure. And that's just utilizing what we have already at Faster Fitness. And again, not doing the whole, you know, shiny object, you know, syndrome or anything like that, but it's just staying true to what I know and not pretending to know other things or going in other directions because someone had success in it and blah, 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 you know, that story. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, I just want to focus on people. I want to focus on transformations, and I want to focus on giving a badass speech at Rise, dude.
I love it. I love it. Well, speaking of your badass speech at Rise, as an attendee, like what are one or maybe like two or three takeaways I would be leaving with after hearing your talk? Like, we've kind of hinted at it a little bit. What are some like solid two or three takeaways?
So number one, I think I try to keep my talks to a very broad audience because I have a feeling I know what kind of people are especially at your conference. Like, there's people who are personal trainers right now looking to make that leap into a gym, and there are solopreneurs, which means it's just them at their own facility. So I want to speak to those people. I want to speak to the transition of going into hopefully your small studio, because I mean you want to be lean and mean and make money, so I think that's the best direction to go to, in my opinion. So I think those people will leave with very tactical things that they can implement on Monday. So you and I know each other because we've been to like 50 different conferences. Like, your face is always there at every single one that I'm at. So for me, it's like I've always been disappointed at conferences, and I know you have too. Like, where you go and you're like, man, like that was just a bunch of fluff. That was all things that were theory, versus like strategy, versus like what can I actually do? Like, this guy is not speaking to me right now. So I take that to heart because I don't want anyone sitting at Rise and them saying that about you or any of the speakers or myself. Like, so I want them to have a strategy that they can implement on Monday. So that's the approach that I take. And I want people to have a page full of notes, or maybe not even a page. Maybe it's one thing that they just do that'll elevate them to the next level.
Love it. I love it. This year we actually added, because of that and because of all the events I've gone to and realized what's been missing, we actually added breakout sessions this year to Rise. So after the morning talks, there'll be a little bit of about an hour, about 90 minutes of breakout sessions with each speaker, and then just cycle through speaker to speaker for a few minutes, or about 20, 30 minutes. So they can actually get some one-on-one time with the speakers and really go deeper into implementing. Because just like you said, man, like we've gone to plenty of events where it's all fluff and no implementation. And that's how this event's gonna be a lot different than most of the events we've gone to.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I know you have that mindset, so I know this is going to be a badass event, dude. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, buddy. It's going to be fun. Last two questions for you, man. So I want to take you back to 19 years old. So Ivan of today at 26, what piece of advice would you give Ivan of 19 who just opened up their own open up the doors to their own studio? What piece of advice would you give 19-year-old Ivan?
Patience. Patience is definitely the number one thing that I would say, because I look back at who I was back then, and it's like I wanted the entire world to happen immediately. I wanted to have a 6-figure business immediately, and it's like it doesn't happen like that. You know what I mean? And so I think that would be the number one thing, patience. And then, thankfully, the thing that I did do, which was continue investing in myself. Like, if I didn't do that, I would definitely say that. But I think patience, like I think that trumps a lot of different pieces of advice that I can give myself, because I was definitely one of those guys that just run and gun, and sometimes getting nowhere. So
patience comes up quite a bit, man. Every time I ask that question, patience has come up a few times. I feel like we all wanted it right then and there, and we learned a few years later, like, man, if I was just a little bit more patient, I'd be in a different spot, or at least be in a different place in my life if I didn't want everything right then and there. So yeah, man, I think patience has come up quite a bit.
I mean, I look at that, like, even within my own business, but like in general in the fitness industry, like, dude, I am so thankful that like we're on this live and that I'm on your panel. Like I didn't think 6 years ago, 5 years ago, that I was going to be speaking this fast, or maybe I did, right? Like, that's where the whole patience thing is, like, oh, I want to speak, but like, nah, you need to develop relationships like I have with you, which I'm very thankful for. And so it's cool to know that after 5-6 years, like, dude, I'm on the panels now, like I'm speaking around the industry. And so that's kind of where the whole patience thing comes from, man. Like, so I'm pumped about it. And it's only been 6 years in my career, so I'm excited for the future.
That's exciting, man. Yeah, dude, right there with you. Like, 5 years ago, I would have never thought I'd have this event, and here we are 5 years later, and there's some major players speaking at this event. And
Heck yeah, man! Like, I feel beyond blessed to be a part of that panel, man. Because I see these names, I'm like, damn, like I'm speaking like them. That's cool.
It's fun, man. It's all like you said. It's patience and it's relationships. It's relationships like this where we may not talk to each other quite a lot throughout but we see each other at events and we catch up and we check in with each other. And I think that's what's led to your success, and that's definitely what's led to mine and the growth of Rise is those relationships over those 5 years and over those 6 years. Like that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that patience and those relationships.
Definitely agree with that for sure.
Last question. This is my favorite one. So I ask all the guests I bring on the show, what was your rise up moment? And for me, and what I mean by that is a certain moment in time where, like, for some, it's the passing of a family member that triggered them to go pursue their passion. It's pushing send on an email that launched them into their success as a coach. And for you, what was your rise up moment?
I feel like we touched upon a few because I think those were my biggest highlights so far, whether if they were positive or negative. So, I mean, if I could just kind of recap and blend them into one, it's definitely the paying off of the debt with my family. That alone definitely gave me the confidence and the mindset that, like, hey, what I'm doing here, my passion and my purpose, like, it's coming to fruition. And I'm definitely on the right path. If I can do this early in my career, who knows what the future has in store for me. So that's definitely a rise up moment. And the fact that I was able to have a failure 5 years in, like early in my career, like, you know, me getting that second location at 25 and like spending a buttload of money, you know, but again, like, I think all of that as a blessing because, like, and again, this is a humble brag. Like, I don't mean to say it like that. I don't know too many 25-year-olds who can invest $100,000, lose it, and still be good, like with their initial business, you know? So I hate speaking like that, but it's kind of how I feel, you know, like I feel like I have a very solid business mind and I have a solid idea of like where my business and my life is at right now. So I think that definitely was a rise up moment, even though it had its downs, like I'm still up, you know what I mean? So, so that those two moments right there, I think definitely define me as a person and define like my entire career so far.
That's awesome, man. And I think you're right, man. I don't know many 20, 25, 26-year-olds that can lose that kind of money and still be okay with another business that's doing really well. I think that speaks a huge testament to who you are as a person and the mindset that you have. And like you said, it's the people you surrounded yourself with. And I know some of these people, they're also major players in the industry as well. Like it's you surrounded with yourself with them at such a young age that the skill sets were learned over those course of those 6 years. And I think that speaks huge to who you are as a business owner and as a person.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Where can people get some more information about you?
So I live a lot on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh damn! I feel like, where did my screen go? So right now I do a lot on Instagram. So my Instagram is at coach_Ivan_Barrera. I think I connect with a lot of trainers there too because we all like to see each other's content, right? So I think a lot of people, if they follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, if they can just add me, you've seen a lot of my video content for like my gym. Like I try to go above and beyond with that stuff. So I think a lot of people can learn and mock and do the same kind of stuff. So I think that would be great. So I would love to connect with anyone, especially the people who are watching this and are attendees. Like I would love to connect before the event as well. And yeah, I mean, any platform like Facebook, Instagram, I'm there.
I love it. We'll link all your handles up at the end. And so, hey man, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on the show. I'm super looking forward to your talk. We call it the rising star. So you are the rising star of Rise this year. That's my every year I try to bring on a new business owner, a new speaker who is a rising star in the industry. And this year it's you. So you are, man. So I'm looking forward to your talk.
Yes, sir, man. And again, thank you for that opportunity. So I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on today, too.
Anytime. So, hey, if you're watching, if you're listening, if you're watching the replay, you heard Ivan's story. You've heard his journey through his 6 years in the industry. You've also learned and heard about his talk at Rise. Go to the website, attendrise.com. Tickets are on sale right now. Early bird is $297 for all 3 days. We actually just threw in a split payment, so you pay half now, half in 30 days. I want to see you there. I know Ivan wants to see you there, and we'll be back next week with a new episode of On the Road to Rise 2018 with a different speaker. Otherwise, take care and have a great weekend, everyone.